to the Mount Holly Township Council meeting on Monday, May 11th, 2015. I'd like to call to order the meeting. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Brown.
Present.
Mr. DeFalco.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Sykes is absent. Mr. Thiessen.
Here.
There is a quorum.
Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please be seated. Verification of notice.
This meeting is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act of 1974, and all provisions of that act have been met with adequate notice of this meeting having been published in the Township's 2 official newspapers on January 12, 2015, published on the Township's website, and posted on the official Township bulletin board.
Thanks, Debbie. We have no communications tonight. We're going to go into the approval of the minutes. That's April 13, 2015 regular meeting, April 23rd special meeting. Any members of council wish to discuss any of those meetings or make changes, corrections? If not, is there action on those minutes?
I need to like abstain from one because I wasn't at the one of the meetings.
Okay.
So.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen.
Yes, I missed the meeting of the 13th, and I attended vice
Oh,
versa.
23rd, yeah.
I attended the meeting of the 13th, so yes, and the meeting of the 23rd, I will abstain.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And lastly, I didn't see it down there, we have the
I
executive
have
session minutes of April 22nd, 2015.
So I did that purposely. It's supposed to be separate.
Okay. Is there action on that? Move to approve. Roll call. If there's a second.
Second.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Abstain.
Mr. DeFalco.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. With one abstention, I'm sorry.
We're going to go right into the public hearing. This is a public hearing for our responsible bidder language. So pursuant to NJSA 4811-25, this is for the inclusion of responsible bidder language and request for proposals for contracts. The Township Council desires to insert language into the Township's request for proposals for public works contracts, which will read as follows. All contractors must utilize skilled workers who have successfully completed an apprenticeship program or other craft training program certified by the Department of Labor, Bureau of Apprenticeship and Training. Proof of all workers' course completion must be provided prior to the beginning of work. As a condition of performing work on public works contracts, the general contractor shall provide certification that he and each subcontractor, when performing work on the project, shall have on-site at least one employee who has successfully completed an OSHA 30-hour construction safety and health course. So that being said, I'm going to open up the floor to the public. If anyone wishes to speak on that ordinance, please stand up and come to the podium. State your first and last name for the record. Mr. Cardy.
Jason Cardy, 9 Wesley Court. It's actually the reason I came out tonight when I saw this on the agenda. I know it's similar to what the school district did for their referendum passed, the multi-million-dollar referendum. I just want to thank the town council and the mayor for putting this initiative forward. So at the end of the day, in layman's terms, it's just assuring that local people get put to work when there is public projects. So thank you for looking out for the working place.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Seeing none, we close the public hearing portion of the second reading. We are at the council.
I'm sorry, Mayor, it's not a second reading, it's just public hearing.
Yeah, it requires a public hearing and then it gets forwarded to the DCA by the clerk.
Oh, you know what? That's because I read the second thing. That's fine. So, thank you. All right, with that, we're going to go right into the next public hearing, which is in regards to the adoption of the 2015 municipal budget.
The ordinance, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, The second reading of the ordinance is not ready yet. We will table it. It was introduced.
Oh, okay.
There's still a couple of, we're still trying to tweak the
We're going to be tabling this next meeting?
Yes.
So 2015-3 we're tabling?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion to table to next meeting?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
We're back into the public hearing for the adoption of the budget. At this time, I open the floor to the budget. Anyone wishing to make comments regarding the budget, please raise your hand. I'll call you up one at a time. State your name, address for the record. Lewis?
Good evening, I am Council People Bear, Council. This we won't be able to, to next meeting,
I'm sorry.
budget.
The budget will be approved today.
Oh, will be approved today.
Yes.
And one question I would like to ask, how much,
This is only regarding the budget right now this time, so if you have other questions,
oh, no,
we'll have a
okay.
public portion coming up, just to let you know.
Okay, how about get a copy of it?
I can get you a copy of it. We're having issues with our copier machine right now, so.
Okay, that's one.
We'll get you a copy.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody have any questions, comments regarding the budget? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of the budget. And I will bring this back to council. We have a resolution 2015-70, a resolution authorizing the reading of the 2015 budget by title only. Is there action on the reading of the budget?
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
And we have resolution 2015-5, which is the adoption of the 2015 municipal budget. Prior to doing the roll call, or motion for action on this, does anyone on the council have any questions or concerns that wish to have answered, or to be brought up prior to action on this resolution? Lou?
No.
Jason?
It's just a cut, obviously I had a number of questions, some from last minute, and they were all answered to my satisfaction. I think it's a pretty good tight budget overall, and I wouldn't have to vote for it.
Any questions? No, sir. And with that, is there action on the 2015-55 resolution for the adoption of this year's budget?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Budget passes. At this time, we're going to open up the public for the regular public portion of the meeting. Members of the public are invited to submit comments during the public comment portion of the meeting. The council pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act will not publicly discuss personnel matters and may choose not to respond to comments made by members of the public during this portion of the meeting. However, the council will give all comments appropriate consideration and will refer all individual complaints to the township manager or appropriate township representative for resolution. Each citizen will be allotted 5 minutes to speak in order to allow everyone an opportunity to express their opinions or their concerns. With that being said, at this time, we open up the public portion of the meeting. Mr. Paul Bracy, please come on up, state your name and address for the record.
Don't put me on the clock yet. Good evening, members of council. Paul Bracy, 12 Regency Drive, Mount Holly. I don't need that. What I'm hoping is there's an understanding that I'm here to talk about issues and only issues. The other thing I'm hoping this council begins to understand is the fact that when there's something that's important to me, I won't stop until it happens, period. One, and two, if I'm going to fight for something, I'm going to utilize all sources, such as a letter that, or a packet that goes out to my Philadelphia 76ers representative asking for a donation for Doty's Ways Use of Risk program. Remember what you and I have been talking about for now close to 3 years. my representative from the Philadelphia Union asking for them to present donation cans at halftime during a union match. Contacting WXPN Radio, asking them to allow me to use Mount Holly area and local Burlington County musicians utilizing World Cafe Live to put on a benefit for Doty's Ways Youth at Risk program. A doctor that's treated my sons who actually, through his treatment and their skills as athletes and academic students, graduated from St. Joseph's University, Drexel University, Keene University. In fact, my oldest son was the youngest Division I golf coach in the nation. Oh yes, my therapist who understands the value of everything I fight for.
Well, at some point.
This is my time on the 5 minutes, I'll get to what I'm talking
My
about.
question, at some point, is there a question here?
Absolutely, and I just said that, Jules.
Great. I'll move it
Thank
forward.
you. I want some time put on. And to a real estate agent who I coached 25 years ago, the point is simply this. Unlike what happened through the Gardens project, which was a farce, of which Jules was involved in, at a time when we actually had community policing, what I'm willing to do is address relevant issues that affect Mount Holly residents, and most importantly, youth at risk, which is what my good friend Gene Stafford did, who was actually, as Jules knows, was chief of police and former mayor and Burlington County freeholder. I've approached this issue with the board for almost close to 2 years, and what I'm asking for is a scant $285 to finance 2 youth at risk 9 to 15. That's one item I want to discuss. Thank you, Jules. And I apologize in advance because I have another meeting to go to, but I welcome every comment. You know what, Jules? I also welcome a one-on-one with you, sir, because we have long history from over 25 years ago, but you won't go there.
Paul, let's stick with questions. and
Yes,
answers.
I will.
Paul, have you ever asked me for a meeting I want to?
Jules, I certainly will. And I just did.
Fine. But you haven't.
And I just did, and I'm waiting a most welcome response, and I still have a minute and a half.
Absolutely.
How can a councilman elect someone to sit on the Mount Holly MUA board when that person is also a sitting councilman? This fine gentleman took time to have that discussion with me, and George, I thank you. And it was an honest, open discussion, which is why you have a great township manager. But I see, particularly after the Jason Carty incident, I see a conflict of interest, or at least the perception of conflict of interest. And particularly considering the direction that this township wants to go, because now you know, Jules, you have a Democratic and Republican Party. It's important to make sure that that conflict of interest does not occur. And I'm not implying that that exists. I'm really not. But I'm saying one way to make it clear and present is to simply say you cannot sit on the township council and on the MUA across the street and get paid. You can't do it. So anyway, don't tell me about charter, change the charter. Thank you. I only have 2 more things to talk about, and I hope I have the time to share. This is a county seat, gentlemen. There are 13 buildings that are not being taxed by the Township of Mount Holly. Correct? If I'm wrong, George, there's between 10 and 13, no more than 13.
That's a lot.
That are not being taxed because they are county facilities. Yet you have a real estate agent, John Silcox, who owns Terra Associates, that has sold property to the county where he reaps a profit, but since that sale, once that sale is actualized, the Township of Mount Holly doesn't reap jack from that point on. So therefore, please let me finish this point, this is critical. So therefore, what I'm humbly suggesting are twofold. One, you get with the freeholders and say, look, the reason the parade was canceled is because we didn't have snow removal, we don't have leaf removal because we have been hit over the Gardens debacle, we need help, you're a county seat. 2, if we want to improve downtown Mount Holly, we have to improve parking lots. If the county seat in Ocean County is Tom's River, and the freeholders provided parking facilities free to the community For county residents, there is absolutely no reason why councilman and councilwoman, you can't go to that meeting and insist the same.
Thank you, Paul.
I had one more point, but thank you for your courtesy. I'd love to speak with you, Jules.
Absolutely.
You know how to reach me.
I'll find out anyway. Thank you.
We appreciate your passion, Paul.
I sometimes wonder, but the passion will never win. Thank you. Thanks.
Louis, would you like to speak?
Yeah.
You want to follow that?
How do you follow that?
You want to follow?
Going to council, I have two concerns come up. One
It was
concern,
just that you didn't.
oh, my name is Louis Lopez, I'm a Mount Holly resident. I'm concerned about the last main water break at Mount Holly Gardens. It was a couple of weeks ago. On my way to work, I see in the West Hampton fire truck is being trained by Jason Cornings. And when I came back, the whole water shut off, and Antoine, it was a call indirect or direct to the body being shut off improperly.
One thing had nothing to do with the other. The training is common. When there's houses that are up, as you know, that some of them are going to be raised, you work together with local fire departments to have the training. I noted that the house next door to me, where I reside, they just did this, and the fire company was out there, I think, on 5 separate nights until like 10 o'clock every night. So that's pretty common. The training does not involve any actual fires. That's prohibited and things like that. The water was completely unrelated. I think they fixed the lines going down Grant Street and some other areas.
We had a water break.
Mr. Solicitor, I'm glad they address it when he's done.
I don't think there was any break of a water main. I think they replaced part of one main, and then they're also cutting off other areas of water.
No, there was a break. I'll address it.
And who authorized you for the training in West Hampton?
I believe Mr. Berry probably did West. It was pretty common because these were township-owned properties. Probably be more training.
There was no real reason not to. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
a local fire department wanted to train, we had the facility to allow them to do that, so, yeah.
And for the budget, what the debts, what that impacted 2015?
That's
What specific?
some of
Is
it.
that how much debt we paid in the budget, Louis?
Yes, how much for in the budget that impact our country?
Well, we're making the required debt payment that we're required to make out through the bonds, if that's what your question is. I don't know what that exact amount is, but it's, multiple hundreds of thousands. I would have to find it to get you that number, we can do that. But it's multiple hundreds of thousands. But that's our required debt payment for the year.
Jules is right, but I just wanted to clarify, are you looking to see if we were spending any additional money on debt services that would impact the taxes of the township?
Yeah, okay.
No,
All right.
no, we're paying it, but it's required, and if anything, at the end of this year, based on where the budget is written, the tax rate actually is going down. So,
And my second question is ordinance second reading by title and public hearing.
that
What do you mean
ordinance-
by-
That ordinance was tabled tonight.
Oh, that was tabled? Can you give me a sample, or you mean by that? The tax incentive of West Hampton, West Delaware project?
That's that is the pilot payment, the long-term abatement, which was negotiated as part of the citizen action litigation. That'll be the amount that all the homeowners, including yourself, Louis, will pay in lieu of taxes. It'll be lower than the ad valorem tax rate, and it's set based upon a formula as to how much it costs the builder to build those homes. And the reason it's tabled is we don't have that final number yet.
And for the animal shelter, that how many years you have to renew it? That animal control. Oh wow! Every year.
Yeah, it was done in January.
And I feel, my mom feel she's like being pressure of someone, targeting our, I don't know, our property or our way to keep, our property. What I'm talking about is tires. We have flowers in there. You know what I mean? Every year she, take those date leave and put new ones. And a couple of weeks ago, I got a letter. You got to get rid of tires. The tires been there since we moved there.
So you
And
got a
with
violation
our
of this,
disappointment.
what you're
Huh?
saying? You received a violation of this?
Yeah, it's the first time, the Township, force came here a couple of years ago and looked at the file, okay, you have to get rid of the trash, okay, didn't say that about the tires. There's other properties in my heart that had tires, flower tires, equal size to mine, and we have to remove it. That's, unfair to, we pay,
Was it planted yet, Paul?
huh?
Was it planted yet? Did you have new flowers in there, or did?
No, it's only added,
Or was it
since,
just tires in it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, somebody riding by sees tires in your front yard, they probably just thought they were scrap tires,
no, it's been there for several years.
No, I
Right.
understand that, but if there were no flowers in it, the
Right.
assumption would be that they're just tires in the yard as
And-
opposed to flowers being there.
And we have new code enforcement, don't we, a relatively
Yes.
new code enforcement that wouldn't have seen it in prior years. So he just rode by, didn't see the flowers in it, saw tires sitting in your front yard. I'm sure that's something that we can work out.
No, that's already, I remember to see what this one I can go out in my mind, shot some flowers.
Absolutely.
But, really disappointed out there.
Like Jules says, if I was going to work out, there's an obligation within the time.
I was trying to get some things in that meeting, but and just give it a, I was just really disappointed. I hope our house will be built, by Labor Day.
We'll let you do flower bed, Louis, so you can leave the tires at home.
And I'm just curious how, why do we cancel two major events? I'm really disappointed.
Which ones? Because
The one, July 4th.
July 4th is not canceled.
Car show.
If it was the car show was canceled due to lack of sponsorships, volunteers, et cetera, et cetera. So if there's no money, no volunteers, we're not gonna put something on. There's no way we can afford to do it by ourselves, and I'm not gonna tax the residents to put that on. As
And,
much as it pains me, you need to have appropriate sponsorship and the volunteers to be able to pull it off properly. That's why it was canceled.
And one of the question is, I've already, after the meeting, I got one question in mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis, have a great day. Mr. Murray?
249 Wesley Court. I was actually here as a resident, and not in my official capacity, but something was brought up. I think I have an obligation to address. As the chief of West Hampton Fire Department, I contacted manager, Mr. Berry, regarding some structures down the gardens that the township does in fact own. We've done it in the past in conjunction with Mount Holly Fire Department. We actually did it on Bank Avenue by the hospital prior to them tearing the service houses down. It's a common thing in the fire service to acquire, we call it acquired structure training, where we utilize structures before they're torn down to conduct training. So not, sorry to debunk anyone's conspiracy theories, but with permission from the township manager, West Hampton's been conducting training. Initially it was some driver's training, placement of apparatus, flowing water and such. And in the next couple of weeks it'll progress into involving Mount Holly Fire Department as well. Some joint training. And as the structures come closer to being slated to torn down, we'll actually be doing interior operations on them and actually doing some cutting and quote-unquote damage to the structure that's already going to be torn down, but that'll get done much closer to when it's actually going to be slated to torn down. As far as the water main issue, yes, there was an issue. Was it caused by our training? Probably. After we ran 3 evolutions flowing from only one hydrant, which would be similar, if not less than an actual fire incident. There was a break in the water main on North Martin Avenue. It was coming up from a previously patched site. Per protocol, the water company was called. They came out and did emergency repair. The next day we conducted the training. Same thing happened in a completely different spot. The water company was not too happy with it. The local representative contacted me. He wasn't too happy. I talked to his supervisor the next day, and his supervisor And I agreed that the Mount Holly Fire District, as a past chairman, I can tell you, pays a significant amount of money every year of our tax dollars for hydrant rental and maintenance. The water company has an obligation to maintain the hydrants and the water mains that supply them. Even down the gardens, even though it's only 2 or 3 houses on the street, it's the water main, they're completely obligated to maintain them, the pipes, the mains, the hydrants. So the higher up in the water company, I agreed to disagree with his subordinate about not conducting training. And again, the amount of training we were conducting is nothing even close to what if we would have been flowing water if it was an actual fire. So it's actually good it happened during training and the break happened and they addressed the issue now, as opposed to if we had an actual fire in that area and needed the water mains and they were to break. So yes, there is training that's been going on. It's going to continue to progress, involving Mount Holly as well. We do post on social media when we do conduct training, as well as document our incidents to keep the public informed as much as possible. So, and thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, and the manager for allowing us to utilize that property for training. It advances not only volunteers but also the career members, in our jobs as far as safety and being proficient in our job capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. Real quick before we go to the consent agenda, Mr. Berry, have we received any notification of a recording this evening?
I hate to do this, but I do have one resolution that I need to walk on. And it is, it would be resolution 76.
Yeah, we weren't done yet. I was just asking a question prior to moving out of public session.
Okay.
Did we receive any authorization for filming at this meeting today?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right.
All right, Lisa.
Hi, my name is Quintana McClellan. I'm a homeowner at Old Mill Village. And there's several issues with our association, and currently our association is in violation for not having a multi-purpose facility for the children. There's no recreation for the children at all. I pay association dues. They send up meeting minutes every year saying they raised $20,000. Repairs are going to be done. The fences have not been repaired. Basketball courts have been taken out that I have paid my association to have in there for my 13-year-old son to play on. Children are playing in the streets. Kids are going to get hurt. New development is built, and there's no recreation. So is there any way we can have something for both of them, since they're close together, that would satisfy both developments, or mandate Old Mill Village Homeowners Association to provide recreation as they were supposed to provide recreation? I've been there 10 years. The board has not changed. Same president, same vice president, everyone has been on the board. There has not been an open election for any other homeowner to want to get on the board, and the president is never on the grounds. We're paying $8,000 for a gentleman that don't live on the grounds to mandate letters for violations that go out, which is a joke. That $8,000 can be used for 86 homes in Old Mill Village. We have more renters than we have homeowners. There's supposed to be a certain quota. And I'm just very upset. And I need somewhere for my 13-year-old son to play, so he's not on the streets getting caught up with drugs or anything else. And I just want to see if something can be done.
Wasn't there, one time, wasn't there like kind of in the center of the complex, there's some type of playground, recreation area?
It's there, but they put a lock on it and removed everything out of it, so it's just a standing.
So there's nothing there at all?
It's nothing there at all. And then I got a $10 violation because my son pulled his basketball court in there, played with it, but then put it back in my parking spot, which is ridiculous, that he has to bring recreation to something that I'm paying for. So if someone can.
You were just sending a letter out?
I did, I sent a letter.
You called
And
my
I called,
office, and
yes.
we missed each other a couple
Yes.
times. I called her back on the weekend, and obviously I didn't know what the exact issue was with it. But we could check out a couple of things on it. Number one, I can check out and see what's on file, if there's anything filed with DCA concerning the homeowners association. If you want to get a copy of the bylaws, we can take a look at it. Might end up being something where you might need to speak with a different attorney outside the township to get involved in that, but I'll take a look at it. If so,
At least point you in the right direction.
I know someone who does a lot of that.
Also,
It's right here.
to cut you off, can we have the dues looked at where the expenses are going? Because every year we get a letter with 20,000 cap, 15,000, I don't see no repairs. And I need to know where the money's going.
I will tell you, George, I was around when that community was built. It was mandated as a planning board resolution that it be a homeowner association.
Absolutely.
So there is definitely a homeowner, it's by deed or whatever, there's a homeowners association.
How you come with the state, take a look at it. You have a copy of the charter, and they can take a look at it, and at least, if there's nothing we can do, we can point you in the right direction, at least.
Also, we're going to be having a nice recreation program this summer down at Milldale Park, which will have basketball programs, camps and whatnot. And that exactly started on the 24th of June, I believe.
Okay.
And Mount Holly residents will get a nice price tag for it. Doesn't cost them that much.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Randy?
Randy Rothwell, 33 Main Street. Now that I see more and more of these large PSE&G pools going up through town, I know we were supposed to get some compensation on trees that they
I
put
will make
down.
a phone call tomorrow.
And I didn't know if any progress was made on that, 'cause I know you're doing that, and it skipped my mind for a while, and then until I saw them coming up, oh yeah, we haven't heard back on that, so,
I will reach out to you tomorrow after I call them.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, one of the grants that we got, we are going to be having a workshop on June 9th on green infrastructure. It's going to be at RV at 7 p.m. One of the speakers is actually the executive director for the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, and also Mike Habron, who maybe some of you are familiar with, who's at the Record Cooperative. And I'm going to invite all of the Township Council to come there, and I would like members of Planning Board to come there, because I think it's going to be very informative. The talks are going to be, one going to be targeted to what municipalities can do to in developments and things that they can think about in trying to prevent flooding and using green infrastructure to minimize major storm events, which we've obviously had a lot around the town. And the second workshop will be about things that homeowners might be able to install on their own properties to help mitigate issues with stormwater runoff. So I think it's going to be very informative, and I would like to see a great turnout at this event. So I just want to bring that up. I do have a couple flyers on the side there, and so
It's at night too, so it's good.
it's a night, yes, in the evening. It's going to be at RV in the old auditorium at RV, so it'll be a large space. So,
So,
yeah, that's all.
Yeah, the email was sent out earlier, late last week.
Okay, yeah, I'm just bringing it up, so, so any kind of publication, any way to publicize this would be great. I know East Hampton's involved.
We can do a posting on the website.
We're working with East Hampton, but I also probably would like to contact, I should, send out to the others, sending districts also to have them, publicize it too, because it's going to be on the RV website also, so. Because the environmental code there is also helping to sponsor us, because how we got the movement for free to do this.
Did you have an opportunity to reach out to any of your contacts in regards to planting some trees and things over the board?
I haven't, but you didn't give me the.
I owe you the email with
The
the
details.
specific details of the trees and shrubs.
Yeah, the details of that and what date you're planning to,
No date set yet, it was just more or less trying to.
Yeah, I'm sure we can find, depending on what it is, the environmental club might be, our review would probably want to hold.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I can do that and, send that.
I'll include that in my update tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else here wish to speak in the public portion of the meeting? Being none, I'll close that portion of the meeting. Eric,
Yeah, back to the record, I'd like to work on the appointment to the MUA board, resolution number 76, 2015-76.
There's also the additional resolution that I had added that's authorizing the agreement between the MUA and the township for the purposes of the township assisting with the sewer cutoffs down there at the gardens for the older houses that are going to be demolished in the near future. It'll save the taxpayers about think around between 12,000 and depending on how many they're able to do, up to 12,000 initial round of the MUAs that would help us. And Mr. Mayor, before you get into the consent agenda, I can just point out a few things from public comment.
Yeah.
First of all, I know Mr. Parisi addressed the MUA and members of the body serving on it, and there's absolutely no conflict whatsoever for Mr. Deason and Mr. Jones serving on the MUA, no matter if Mr. Deason came on council after he was a member of the MUA or Mr. Jones, vice versa. There's just no conflict whatsoever. Josh Brown and I met with Mr. Parisi some time ago. I explained it to him, that the statute authorizing MUA creations does not at all address any conflict. In fact, I pointed out that, in one reading, I think it somewhat encourages it because the MUAs are, authorized by governing bodies themselves. Much like, I gave him the example, planning boards, they actually have requirements that members of the governing body serve on that. And the MUA is a little bit different, but clearly there is no conflict of that whatsoever. Furthermore, for the public's benefit, if I'm not mistaken, all the MUAs that I can think of off the top of my head, every one that I can think of right now, with one exception, I think has members of the governing body on it. And on that one, I think the person was just decided not to run again and is still on the MUA. So, you're talking about, I can think of a half a dozen, I think, off the top of my head. So it's quite common. Furthermore, I even pointed out to Mr. Bracey, and like I said, we agreed to disagree. I think just as a concept, we think that it should be kept separate, but the statute, in my opinion, actually encourages it. At the county level, when county boards of freeholders and county executives create, there are certain agencies such as county improvement authorities and utilities authorities, the county actually approves a lot of the minutes, and bills can't get paid until the county, after the board acts, approves it. So it's sort of, as I explained to him, it's a sort of, they call it, it's the family, the municipal family. They're part of the municipal family born out of this governing body. So there's absolutely no conflict on that whatsoever. I also note that, Mr. Brace is aware of what we heard about his at-risk youth program. I believe Mr. Berry directed him, and he met with Chief Mastrangelo about that to discuss some of the ideas that he had about that as well. So just to report back, I wanted to make sure that everybody up here knows. We discussed these with him, and Mr. Bracey had his opinions, was very respectful, very helpful. But Mr. Brown and I talked to him about an hour and a half, and I think he understood a lot of the concepts on it, although he doesn't.
And I think a major point there too is the township is financially responsible for the MUA. So if the MUA were to default tomorrow, like, this board and every citizen of Mount Holly would be responsible for that default. So I think that's a key point about, you want to be there to make sure your resources are being spent wisely and protected.
And not only that, but as I also, Jules brought up a great point. I also explained to Mr. Bracey not long ago, I believe, I'm not sure if everybody's aware of this, but this council could dissolve the MUA and basically take it over. That, I'm not suggesting you do that. In fact, I think a lot of people believe a local municipal, Delran did that about 4 or 5 years ago. I think there were some concerns that arose out of that, and there's some people afterward thought, or even the people who made the decision maybe thought it wasn't the best idea at that time. But, it's really a part of, or a sub-agency in a way of this governing body, although they're separate and independent. But that's another great point that Mr. Deese brings up. That's it.
So we have here, adding on to the agenda, resolution appointing a member to the MUA. That's resolution 2015-76. Do we have a name which is going into this resolution?
Make a
Open up
nomination. Members of the board would have to make a nomination.
Right, you want to go ahead and open up at this point. Is there a motion to open nominations?
Make a motion to open nomination.
Oh,
For a second.
I'm sorry, do we want to add these to the agenda first and then?
I'm not quite sure that we need a resolution for this.
Okay.
Over appointment.
At some point, you don't necessarily need a resolution, but you could open it up for, if there's more than one nomination, you take a roll call on nomination, or you can just do a voice vote as to do if there's more than one nomination.
I was going to suggest this in the voice vote. The majority gets to go.
There's no need for a second on it either, by the way. You can just nominate for a position.
So that being
Doesn't
said,
require a second.
Nikki, if you can go ahead and do a roll call on the nomination for the mayor position and member of council, as you can see your name, please state first and last name of the member whom you would like to evaluate.
What am I calling the roll?
I don't think there was any names
Yeah.
given.
We were gonna say it as we go through.
Uh,
Unless you want
I
to.
recommend, Mr. Mayor, you just, that somebody give a nomination. If there's a
Not a
second
problem.
nomination, if there's more than one, you can take a voice vote on who the selection is.
That's fine.
I would like to make a nomination. Chris Banks.
Call roll on that thing? Or we just going?
Are there any other nominations?
Calling the roll on Mr. Banks, Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
He's not a council member. Not yet.
Then the resolution that we're walking on is going to be replaced by that, it's going to be 76 now.
Yes. All right, we have a action, a motion to add resolution 2015-76 to the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, now that's part of the consent agenda. Resolution 2015-43, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. Bill lists, both manual by vendor and the department head reports, including total construction report, EAC, housing, public works, building, and bridge drawer. Is there anything on the consent agenda which members of council to discuss prior to having any action on it?
A minor comment on 43. We had talked about, I realized we may need to do something because, we're 5 months into the year. We discussed the possibility of getting alternative services for financial savings on that particular item. What have we looked into, if anything?
Eric, have you looked into anything? or-
Shared service agreement for animal
Control
control.
down with the well.
Actually, yeah, we have a gentleman on staff.
Okay.
I think he
It's
did
going to do it eventually. Okay. Yeah, it was a sizable increase from last year, and I just think, not even saying we need to do it this year, but next year we'll look at
I
it
was gonna say
again.
that's something that would be foreseen
Right.
next year.
That's what we're
We need to keep our options open for in 2016.
Agreed.
With the beefing up of our public works, I think he's credentialed, he's got everything going. We would be able to spare him at the particular time, and I'd like to see that develop in high school.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Eric. If there's no other comments on the consent agenda, is there action on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
We'll go right to matters to be reported by the manager.
No, I'm clear.
We good? George, anything?
Just one of the site that the first 4 units are being built, the gardens, just an update. They actually installed pumps to pump water out of the ground to sort of keep soaking up the water that's there, and it needs to be dry enough for them to pour the foundation. In fact, this is going to happen not just at that site, but throughout wherever heating ends up happening. And so they pumped it, and they've been pumping it today. There was still water in there. In fact, some water drained back in there. They're going to pump it every day and continue to do so and check it every morning. And if it's ready tomorrow, they're going to pour the foundation tomorrow. If it's ready, Thursday or Wednesday, then they'll pour it whenever it's ready. As soon as that foundation gets poured, it sits a couple days, and firm water is ready to go and build those first 4 units, which with Mr. Lopez's.
Great. All right. Matters to be presented by the council. Luke, anything for us?
Yes. Once again, on Wednesday, we will play the officers down at Hope School again. they want another chance at us. That will be at, we'll start at 7 o'clock. And wish if everyone could bring a canned good, whoever may come and support. And we'll also have a little pizza party.
As a whole, right?
Yes.
I was scared away after reports of the last one, so.
Hey,
Her got a little rough.
Need someone bring an oxygen tank?
George made the first point.
Every point counts.
And also, anything else that we have a fishing tournament going on, I believe that starts in June. Everything will be on the website to find out updates. And as I was mentioning about our basketball tournament, will be happening in June, starting the 24th, and also basketball camp. And that will be from kindergarten to 8th grade. And during the summer also, we'll have 3-on-3 contests.
And they can't do what, Saturdays and Sundays?
Then that'll be during the week.
This is for basketball.
Basketball.
Anything else, Lou?
That's it.
Jason?
Just with Betty, being out on medical, can we make some kind of a motion that, she gave her an excused absence?
Absolutely.
So not only for this meeting, but for the next couple of meetings for obviously medical reasons. So it's not counted against her should somebody wish to do that at some point in the future.
Just take a vote, do a motion to excuse her from the last couple of meetings.
Make a motion to excuse Betty from the last couple of meetings, including this one and 3 going forward.
Second.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Thiessen?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Falco?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Nothing else, sir.
All right, one thing, Eric, if you had your office, please draft a letter to the NUA stating their recent appointment be taken effect during the next swearing at the NUA. That'd be great. Aside from that, I have no further comments. Without further ado, we have adjournment here, but just to note, our next meeting is Wednesday, May 27th. We're canceling that, right? So we'll do the up in the air.
Mr. Mayor, yeah, leave it up because we got that pilot everywhere.
Yeah, so our next meeting, as of right now, is on May 27th, 2015 at 7 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?